still afternoon, or is it good evening? I never know really. It's good afternoon and good early evening, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for all coming. At least it's not raining today. That's one good thing, isn't it? I won't get drowned on the way home. Now, my name is Councillor Jane Bell, and I'm chairing the meeting this afternoon. And before we start, I'd like to outline some housekeeping rules. There are no planned fire alarms, and if it does sound, please use the emergency exits. And I could do the thing on the plane. It's there and there. It's rounded out the back. But hopefully there won't be a fire, and I'll get burned because it takes me forever to get to the door. So, and can I request that all mobile phones are kept on silent and switched off? Thank you. Members of the committee are attending in person here at the Civic Centre. Other members of the council may also be dialing in on Microsoft Teams to observe and or to participate in the meeting. But only members of the licensing panel present here at the Civic Centre are entitled to vote. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and is live streamed on YouTube. Any members on Teams are asked to keep their microphones on mute and only unmute when they wish to speak. And can I remind members to unmute themselves once they've finished speaking and enable the meeting to progress smoothly. And now I will ask everybody to introduce themselves. So first of all, the licensing panel, myself, Councillor Jane Bell.
I'm Councillor Paul Walton-Harden, Vice Chair of the Licensing Committee.
I'm Councillor Harry Hancock, part of the Licensing Committee.
And applicant for review.
PC Connolly, Police Licensing.
Sergeant Lovick, Police Licensing.
Jason Middleton, Lancashire Trading Standards.
Chris Ward, South Ribble Licensing Authority.
Thank you. Have we got the solicitor? That's you?
Yes, I'm not a solicitor.
Oh.
I'm from Knapford Solicitors.
Right.
I don't want to misrepresent myself. My name's Jill Sherratt and I'm representing the licence holder.
Right, thank you. And have we got the objector?
Hi, Samira Godavita.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Stephanie Newby, Licensing Officer.
Evening. My name is Tasneem Safdar. I'm the Legal Services Team Leader and I will be assisting the panel in making any decision.
And Claire Gornall, Democratic Services Officer.
Thank you, everybody. I suspect we'll all forget each other's names unless we've got a label, but I do apologise if I ask your name again. Yes?
Just to make things easy for your chair, the licence holder's name is extremely complicated.
Right.
And I have asked him if it's okay. I know him as Sammy.
Right.
If you all want to call him Sammy, would that help?
Sammy, if as long as he's happy with that?
Yeah, it's fine.
Right, fine. Thank you, Sammy. Right, we're going to start with the agenda. Are there any apologies, Claire?
None, Chair. Right.
Are there any declarations of interest? Anybody? It's usually councillors. No? Right, fine. Yeah. Now, the application for review is Super Saver on School Lane in Bamber Bridge. And I will now outline the procedure for the hearing as follows, so everybody knows what's going to happen. A licensing officer will briefly outline the application. That will be Stephanie over there. And the applicant for the review case. The applicant review will be invited to put forward any information in support of their application, including the calling of witnesses. The objectors and or their representatives, the panel and any other responsible authority may ask questions of the applicant, witnesses and or their response. Excuse me, I did this wrong last time, didn't I? Yeah, their representatives. Third on the agenda, responsible authorities. Any responsible authority who has made representations will be invited to put forward any information in support of their representation, including the calling witnesses. The objector and or representatives, the panel and applicants may ask questions of the responsible authority, witnesses and or their representatives. For the objector's cases, the objector will be invited to put forward any information in support of their objection, including the calling of witnesses, and the applicant and or their representatives, the panel and any other, and any other responsible authority may ask questions of the objectors, witnesses and their representatives. The chair will then ask the applicant, in light of the representations, if they wish to amend the application, and the panel will only consider the application laid down before it during this decision making. There will then be a summing up by the objectors and then the applicant, and then the conclusion, the chair will ask the licensing authority legal's representative whether there are any other matters to be raised or resolved before the hearing is closed for deliberations. During deliberations, generally the public and the applicant will be excluded when the panel is determining the hearing decision. A notice of the decision will be issued to the applicant and any interested parties 5 working days after the hearing meeting. Well, that's the plan that we'll be following. And now we'll ask the licensing officer to present the report. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you, Chair. The application before you today is for a review of a premises licence and is made under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003. The hearing today is to deal with an application from Lancashire Police in relation to the premises licence for School Lane Super Savers Bamber Bridge. This premises is currently licensed to sell alcohol for consumption off the premises between the hours of 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Mr. Nuwan Bamanu Mudiansalij is the holder of a premises licence of the... Can you still hear me okay there? Yeah. Premises licence and the designated premises supervisor at the premises. He's been the licence holder since September 2021, where the licence was transferred into his name. The application for review is brought by Stephen Connolly, Police Licensing Officer, on behalf of Lancashire Constabulary, and the grounds that the following licensing objectives have been undermined and not promoted at the premises. Firstly, the prevention of crime and disorder, and secondly, the protection of children from harm. There are also concerns about the poor management of the premises following 2 failed test purchases for age-restricted products and non-compliance of the premises licence. The first test purchase that was failed was for an underage sale of a knife, and the second test purchase was for an underage sale of alcohol. Details of which can be found in Appendix A, titled Review Application and Associated Documents. PC Connolly will provide further information regarding the review application later in his hearing today. Supporting representations have been received also from Chris Ward Licensing Authority and Jason Middleton LCC Trading Standards. These can be found in the report titled Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. I can confirm that the application has been served on all other responsible authorities and notices placed on both the premises and council's website in accordance with all the relevant guidelines. Copies of the report and further correspondence, such as letters and proposed conditions, have been served on the licence holder and representatives in advance of this hearing today. There are 2 supplementary documents that have been served by the licensing holder, one on the 21st of July and one on the 24th of July. These have been circulated to all parties. These are also made available to the public on a supplementary agenda on the council's website. So members are now asked to consider all evidence which will be put before them today. Options available for your consideration will include revocation of the licence, a suspension of no more than 3 months, to add or remove conditions to the licence, to remove the licensable activity, or remove the DPS. Thank you. Up to you, Chair.
Thank you, Stephanie. Very comprehensive and to the point. Thank you. Excuse me. Now then, the applicant for review, Chris Littleby. PC Connolly, is it?
It is, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair, I've submitted the review application today. I've prepared a overview of why this review's gone in, a bit of history of the premises, build-up of the area, including the fact there are 2 secondary education establishments within a mile of the premises, or less than half a mile. I'm not going to read this verbatim. I'm going to surmise what I've put on today, and then I will just go into my visits where I've visited. There's also some media that I'd like to play for you. So my colleague attended the premises on the 12th of October 2021 to determine that licence conditions were being adhered to at that time. I believe they spoke to Sammy. He was aware of his licence. He had a copy of it, and there was compliance achieved at that time. On the 19th of May, As part of Operation Sceptre, a national campaign tackling knife crime, the premises was subject, along with several others, to test purchase sale for knives. The premises failed by selling a knife to a child, a trimming knife to her. On the 2nd of June 2023, I reattended as part of an alcohol test purchase. That was a multi-agency operation, including South Ribble Borough Council licensing, training standards, and myself. We sent in 16 and 17-year-old into the premises and they were sold with alcohol. No challenge was made by the member of staff. Immediately afterwards, I've attended the premises, spoken with the staff, and they've been issued with fixed penalty. At the same time, we completed a compliance visit, a compliance inspection, where non-compliance was achieved. I think it's probably easy, Chair, if I ask for the video LC04 to be played. It's body-worn video footage of that inspection.
I was trying to turn the volume up.
Thank you, Councillor.
That's that, I think.
So, Chair, that inspection determined that there was non-compliance to the premises licence. A member of staff on duty, he had no access to the CCTV, which is a licence condition. He said that his training was initially every 2 months, then it was 2 to 3 months. There was no documented training available for that member of staff. When challenged around the sale of the product, he advises that he'd never sold an age-related product before to a child. It was the same member of staff that 2 weeks prior sold the knife to a child as well. When challenged with that, he then admitted that yes, he had been visited 2 weeks previously. He had been warned regarding age-related products and yet continued to sell. It was quite confusing, the fact that he didn't even know what the refusals register was when we spoke with him. He had little understanding of what his responsibilities were. On Wednesday, the 6th of June, I returned to the premises with Mr. Ward from your licensing team. Once again, it was the same member of staff that we'd spoken to on the 2nd. This time he was with a second member of staff. We've discussed the issues. No access to CCTV was once again provided, and there was no refusals register or training records provided to us. We were advised that they were in the licence holder's second premises on Moss Lane in Leyland. Following that, myself and Mr. Ward decided to attend Moss Lane premises, carried out another inspection of the premises where we found a poor state of compliance. Staff members, once again, not really aware of what their obligations were. Refusal register wasn't completed. There was also one that concerned me quite a bit. They were selling alcoholic ice pops. The shop had placed them directly above your 50p ice pops that kids would have. The only kind of incentive to prevent kids from it was a sign on the box that said adults only. Quite concerned that alcoholic products directly above something that children would touch. So after that, I spoke to the licence holder on the telephone. He advised me that all the documentation was at School Lane, the refusals register, the training record. As such, we've returned back to School Lane later that night. Spoke to the staff again. The concerning one now at this point is after I'd spoken to the licence holder, the male who'd sold the products to our test purchasers was once again in the shop by himself. He had no access to the CCTV. So even after speaking to the licence holder, the licence is continuing to be breached. Eventually, we got to the bottom. Mr. Ward saw a folder on the top shelf of the cabinet, which is about 6.5 foot in the air, that had outdated training records. The member of staff did not know where those training records were. The training records were last dated in March 2022. There was nothing from there. The licence says every 6 months that training must take place. There was nothing documented whatsoever. The member of staff didn't know the refusals register, and the licence holder had to direct his staff member where to find a refusals register, which was actually behind the spirits display. When I've examined that, and I've documented this in a picture LC03, there was a couple entries in that refusals register that caused me concern. And they are entries that are dated 10th of November, 22nd of December, the 16th of February and the 17th of February. Advised that there was no year on those, no means to determine when those transactions actually took place. They were just months. But when you look at the handwriting, the pen used, they appear to be the same person who's wrote those using the same pen. There's also what appears to be, it looks like it's been date / month, all done at the same time, looking at the penmanship. And then the very concerning one there is there's 3 different members of staff that sign as that refusal. I had concerns that that was actually a falsified refusals record to try and prove that they were actually upholding the licensing objectives. The licence holder couldn't really account a great deal for that with me. And I advised him at that point, after speaking to him already on the telephone twice that day. This was the third time that I had no other choice than to review the premises licence because I had concerns that he could not uphold the licence and objectives at all. On the 19th of June, at approximately 1500 hours, I've reattended the School Lane shop. This is after the reviews have been applied for. I was with Trading Standards. Another member of staff was on duty. It was the same chap that had sold alcohol, sold knives. At that point, we did start to see a bit of compliance. The refusal register had 3 entries in it. There was no training records whatsoever available for us. And eventually he was able to access CCTV for us. It's during that inspection, I noted that the CCTV was not a sufficient standard as what I would expect from a licensed premises. It was not recording all the time. It was motion sensitive. And I believe it was recording for 12 days. When I spoke to the licence holder again on the telephone, he claimed to me that someone had recently serviced the cameras as the requirements of the premises licence, but he had no documentation for that. During that inspection, there were lots of kids trying to come into the premises. We'd locked the door to give the staff that bit of privacy. Lots of kids were trying to come in. It is a shop that is clearly frequented by children. There's been considerable failings here of not just 1, but 2 licensed premises under Sammy's control. He's chosen not to comply with his license conditions. My colleague has exhibited that they have previously complied. He has chosen to ignore that. Chair, that is the end of my representations. I'm conscious with the IT issue that it's probably possibly not best to play all the media because it may just delay the process. But that is it, and I open it to any questions. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Through you, Chair, it might be helpful if you could perhaps view that in your deliberations,
Yeah,
maybe.
we can do that in the
If there are technological problems at the moment,
Are you happy with that?
unless you have any.
I don't have any. I've watched them and they do reflect. You know, I've no problem with them. But if you did have any, if you were going to give anything of weight to what you saw on them, then I would like to know about that and maybe be consulted at that point. But
that's going to be difficult because that's going to be in deliberations when everybody leaves. So
Yeah.
perhaps it's useful now.
No,
to watch the.
I've no problem then. They don't show anything other than what the police have presented.
PC code. Is there anything in them that is different from what you've just been saying, or does it just substantiate what you're saying?
No, Chair, the body worn camera footage reflects what I've documented in my
Right.
statement.
So if we don't see them, it's not going to influence one way or the other.
No, Chair.
It's just a backup. Thank you very much. Right. Are you happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Just to get, it's best to be clear. Thank you. Right. Now then, have we got any questions of our applicant? Yeah. That's right.
Just a couple, if that's okay. Is that all right?
You've got your
Yes.
microphone on, yeah.
I don't need one, Chair, to be honest. Yeah. Okay. Just a couple of questions. PC Connolly. I'll deal with the one I was going to deal with second first, actually, because you've mentioned about the refusals register and your belief that it was falsified. That, in my view, is a strong allegation to make. What evidence have you got of that, apart from your view of bad penmanship?
As I've advised, the penmanship, the handwriting used, if you look at the capture, they all appear to be wrote by the same person but signed by a different party.
Okay. Are you a handwriting expert?
I'm not, no.
No. Okay. Thank you.
However,
Sorry, I do have another question. During the whole of this, obviously, you'll expect I've been through all of these documents and seen what's happened and over what kind of time frame. And I think, and you can correct me on this, it's absolutely fine. You've had, is it one conversation with Sammy or a couple of conversations with him?
multiple conversations on the telephone with him.
Multiple? How many?
3 or 4 during the process.
Do you want to give me the dates of those conversations?
Off the top of my head, no, I'm unable to because it was his staff that put him on. So it
Yeah.
was at the initial visit with Mr. Ward.
Yeah, so that's the second.
Yep, that was done at School Lane.
Yeah,
Then a further conversation at Moss Lane
on the same day.
on the same
I
day.
know about that, yeah.
And then the third conversation back at School Lane on the same day.
So another one on the same day. So that's 3 on the same day, considering the same visit, yeah?
No, they were separate visits.
No, yeah, but it's the same day.
It was the same day, but they were separate visits. We were being directed to multiple locations to try and find information that should have been at the premises.
So that's 3 conversations you've had while trying to get to the bottom of where the refusals register is and all that. Is that right? Have you made any attempts to speak with Sammy other than that about the issues that you found?
Then spoke to him when I visited with Trading Standards.
When was that?
That was the 19th. Again, his staff report was on the telephone.
Again on the telephone?
Yes.
Okay, independently to that then over the phone, because I don't think these were very long conversations, have you made any attempt to meet with him, to sit down with him, to have a bit more of an in-detail conversation with him?
No, I felt there was no requirement. His staff had sold age-related products to children.
No, not really, no.
I'm happy, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So, on behalf of the Licensing Authority, we support the police's representation for the review of this premises licence. I was contacted by PC Connolly in May regarding the test purchase that had taken place with the knife sales on the 19th of May. And that was on the 24th of May. Following this, I was invited on a second test purchase of this premises with the police and Trading Standards, which I witnessed. I didn't witness the sale of the alcohol, but went back into the premises afterwards and witnessed the child coming out of the premises with the alcohol in hand. Following that, we entered the premises. PC Connolly put a list of questions together of the member of staff behind the counter. He didn't know where the refusal log was. He didn't know how to use the CCTV. In my opinion, he was flustered. He didn't really know what a refusal log was. He was providing various pieces of documentation, including bills and things like that, to PC Connolly. Following this, we re-attended the premises on the 7th of June to see what compliance had started to be seen at the premises. Once again, the same member of staff was in place. He didn't know where the refusal log was. He had no staff training in place. He was unable to use the CCTV. And at that point, PC Connolly asked to speak to the licence holder. PC Connolly had a conversation with the licence holder. We then went on to the premises at Moss Lane. PC Connolly had a conversation with the licence holder there and asked where the documents was. The licence holder then told PC Connolly that the members of staff at the premises at School Lane had found the documents. And then on our next visit, we should attend to view the staff training logs. We both decided to attend the premises again at School Lane at that point, where we were greeted by the same member of staff again. The training staff records were not in place again. Following this, PC Connolly advised me that he'd attended the premises again on the 19th of June, with no staff training logs in place, 3 refusal logs between the 7th of June and the 19th of June. The CCTV system was not compliant with the licence, and it wasn't continuously recorded, and it was being activated by motion sensors. As per the licence, at that point, the licence holder was not compliant with various conditions on the licence. With regards to the CCTV system, refusal register, staff training, Challenge 21 policy, none of these conditions were in place following 2 test purchase exercises where age-related products had been sold to minors, including knives and alcohol. So as per the information provided by PC Connolly, I'll not go over that again, but as the licensing authority, we support that representation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Now then, is there anybody else to say anything about yours? That's just you. Thank you. Objectors, have you got any questions? You sure? Right. Right, now it's your... Oh, it's trading standards next. Yeah. Trading standards next. Sorry, I'm missing you out.
Thank you, Chair. I will be going through a bit of information which has already been mentioned by my colleagues either side of me. But as you know, I am representing Lancashire County Council Trading Standards. I'm part of the alcohol and tobacco team. Trading standards have many roles and responsibilities, one of which is in relation to the sale of age-related products. We try and work with partners to ensure the best possible protection for individuals or communities whilst educating residents, whilst also ensuring businesses are compliant and responsible regarding their responsibilities. So one of the ways we do this is by test purchasing. A test purchasing operation involves us sending in somebody usually aged of between 13 and 17 into licensed premises, whether it's off or on. We basically make sure they dress as we do normally. We don't tell them to dress up and act older. They basically ask them to come as they are, as they would normally dress. They also get told, if they get asked questions, not to lie. So if somebody asks them how old they are and challenged, they will say they're 16, 15, 14. We don't provide them with fake ID. They get told if somebody asks them for any ID, they say, we've got no ID. Which just basically says all we're asking to do is check 25. If somebody asks for the ID or their age, the test purchasers will tell the truth. So obviously it disappoints us that on the 19th of May 2023, obviously we carried out a test purchase operation for knives. A colleague of mine, Julie Waddington, went into Super Saver, School Lane Super Saver, and a member of staff sold a trimming knife to a 13 and 14-year-old. I'd reiterate, these 13 and 14-year-olds, if they've been challenged for ID or challenged for their age, they would have told the truth. The 13 and 14-year-olds were allowed to come out of the shop with a trimming knife. What the process then is, immediately afterwards, a training standards officer will go in with a police officer. Advice will be given to the staff member who sold in relation to what's gone on. And on this occasion, that occurred. Advice was given to the staff member. A knife pack was handed to the staff member, which I've got a copy of now, which basically posters as information regarding knife sales, check 25, etc. They're also handed a form which has details of the trading standards officer's name, email, and a phone number. So the staff member is told to pass this on to whoever's in charge and ask them if there are any questions to contact the officer who attended. From my understanding, no contact was made from the premises, by anybody at the premises, after this knife sale on the 19th of May. As you're aware, on the 2nd of June 2023, a further test purchase operation was carried out, and this time it was for alcohol. So on this occasion, it was two 16-year-old and a 17-year-old were sent into the premises to try to obtain alcohol, and sadly they did come out with alcohol. Again, if they've been challenged and asked for their age, they would have told them their age. If they've been asked for ID, they would have replied, they have got no ID. But on this occasion, no challenges were made. So the 16 and 17-year-old were allowed to leave the premises with alcohol. Obviously, from our perspective in the trading standards, this causes real concerns, and that's why we fully support this review submitted by Lancashire Police in relation to the licence objectives being undermined. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Have you got some questions?
Just one question. Could you please give us a bit of background on the specific operation and the reason for test purchasing of knives during this operation, please?
Yeah, this was during Operation Sceptre, which was a countrywide operation led by the police, but supported by training standards in relation to obviously looking at knife crime, the problems with knife crime, and just seeing how easy it was for people, in particular under 18s, to obtain knives. So it was a week-long operation where we did many premises, businesses, to try and obtain knives to see what the compliance rate was regarding businesses and these of under 18s getting knives. So it was all part of the umbrella of Operation Sceptre.
Mr. Middleton, am I correct in thinking that Lancashire Trading Standards are not prosecuting that member of staff for the sale of the knife in May?
That's correct. It was dealt with by a form of a warning letter, which was sent to the business a week or two after. So it's a written warning was given to the premises with advice on how to stop it from happening again.
And Mr. Middleton, just going to the alcohol sale. Was it yourself that witnessed that sale?
It was, yes. Obviously, part of this, I didn't want to go into the process we carried out when doing test purchasing, but it is common practice for somebody to go in with the test purchasers, obviously not with the test purchasers, on the proviso we're shopping or buying something. And I did witness the alcohol sale, and of note is the staff member who served, in my opinion, did not make any eye contact or look up and actually look at the two test purchasers who obtained the alcohol.
Could you just confirm that it's the same staff member that made both sales?
My understanding is it is the same staff member.
Nice photo, fine.
Two, the objectors, it's your turn to put your case forward, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm here on behalf of the licence holder, Sammy, who is sat here next to me. And I want to start, as I always do when it's relevant, to say that he instructed me some time ago from Napthans, and from the start has always accepted the reasons for this review, the gravity of what is happening. He understands the serious nature of what has taken place at one of the stores that he owns. He accepts the circumstances around it, which is why I didn't need to see the footage. We're not here to shy away from it. We're here to deal with it. He's taken it very seriously, and in explaining how he's done that, I will take you through I'm going to have some comments to make on the evidence that's in front of you, but I'm also going to show the positive response that he has shown to hopefully give you confidence that this will be an isolated blip. He's never been in trouble before. He's never had a review, bearing in mind he owns another shop as well. He's never had a review of his licence. So that is what I'm going to do today. He's owned this particular shop since September 2021 when it was transferred to him. He's both the premises licence holder, so the owner, and the DPS. That's the person who's there day to day controlling and working in the shop. It's a general convenience store. You know that he owns another shop. There's been reference made to it. Moss Lane convenience store. He's had that longer. He's had that since April 2019. As I say, no problems at all from either of the shops. They're both general convenience. They're both valuable assets to the local community. I have to say that it's very, very rare indeed to ever get positive representations from local people. You've got them here, and I hope that demonstrates that point. So apart from the matters that you're dealing with today, and like I say, they do need dealing with, there's been no issues, complaints, problems of any nature connected to the premises. So what I want to do, I'm going to explain what happened from Sammy's point of view about the actual incidents that have been presented by the police. But before I do that, I just want to balance out some of the points that are in the evidence that I take issue with, great issue with, that have been put in front of you. And I want to put to you that you need to tread carefully when taking them into account. The first one is that School Lane has passed previous test purchases under a previous owner. I don't see how that is relevant in any way. And it's things like that that are in documentation for a reason, and that is to cloud your judgment. That is not relevant. References to Moss Lane and what's going on at Moss Lane is not relevant here today. Although the police are referencing it, they've put in no evidence. I can't challenge anything that they're saying about Moss Lane. It shouldn't be in there, and I'm asking you to dismiss comments about Moss Lane. Kids coming into the premises. There were loads of kids in the premises. Yes, there will be, because kids do go in the premises to get their sweets and their drinks. Again, trying to create a certain impression. The belief that the that the refusals register signatures are falsified. I'm quite surprised a police officer can come in an open forum like this and actually tell you that that's his belief without any evidence at all. Now, I can see here, and I've been doing this job over 20 years, you can see that there's actually two people there. That top signature is the same person who did the bottom two. And also, I know how pressurised it is behind the till. And it's quite common for them to help each other out. One will write it, one will sign. You know, we don't know. The point is, we don't know. It's not right that a police officer comes in and says, it is my belief it is falsified. And I would ask you to dismiss that out of hand. You've heard that there's no age verification policy in place. That's come from the council licensing officer. That's not true. There is an age verification policy. There are posters up about the age verification policy, 2 in number, that I've put in the photographs, but they were there throughout the whole of these incidents. Yes, we absolutely admit that that staff member did not follow that policy, agreed, but they do have an age verification policy in place. CCTV not being available on the spot there and then. Well, I really do have to pull the police up on this. The CCTV is there more for an internal crime, for staff theft, as it is for things that might be happening in a premises with other things, freak things that might happen. To give every member of staff, and you've got to imagine owning your own business here, you being the business owner, do you want to give every member of staff access to that CCTV? I don't think you do. And that is the problem with CCTV. Demanding it on the spot, we want it now. Those days are gone. That's not data protection compliant. Of course, go in if there's an incident, something bad's happened, you do immediately want to view it. But to be asking for it then and there, like I say, those days are gone. The usual way of dealing with that is by prior arrangement with the licence holder, and you go and check it that way. So the criticisms there being levelled there are not accepted. So I just wanted to make my point about those points. I'll come to dealing with the incidents now, and I want to just go through. And again, we aren't shying away from what's happened here. Sammy splits most of his time between Moss Lane and School Lane, and he'll answer any questions that you have about this. He does an 80-hour week. And he tries to split his time between both, working in them, doing the cash and carry, the banking. He has to do accountancy. He's also a semi-professional cricket player, and he has a lot on. He's a professional man, but with the pressures that come with that. The failed test purchases that you've heard about did take place when he was elsewhere. The staff member, it is the same staff member here, and I'll demonstrate to you, and again, Sammy can tell you anything about this, the way that it unfolded for him, because we absolutely agree that he didn't deal with things correctly, not at all. He'd been trained, but he didn't put that training into practice. When the knife was sold on the 19th of May, he rang Sammy immediately. Sammy's gone to the shop, spoke with him, known that trading standards have been and given a pack, and he's reiterated everything that trading standards have said, given him a warning. He's told all the staff, and he's dealt with appropriately. It was completely different on the 2nd of June. Again, Sammy wasn't there. This is the alcohol failed test purchase, because Dharmesh lied and didn't tell Sammy about it. And this is the problem with staff who are worried and scared. And at this point, I will say about the licensing officer's comments about, a staff member being nervous and confused. Well, yes, they are nervous when a police officer and a licensing officer is in a shop doing a check, especially where they might have done something wrong on top of that. Yes, they are nervous and don't perhaps act the way that they should. He only told Sammy about this a couple of days later, and that's when the conversations have taken place, when the visit on the 7th of June happened. Sammy was at his accountant's in Liverpool when those conversations took place over the phone. And Sammy says that when he did find out, the explanation of Dharmesh was that he was scared to show the file. We don't know why. And as you know, the police eventually did see it. And see that training had been undertaken, but it was out of date. So that's what we've got to say about the actual incidents and the mechanics of what happened. I will say Dharmesh has been sacked. He's no longer there, and I'm going to come to that in more detail in a second. I want to reiterate the fact that we accept the concerns that the authorities have, and I want to be clear about that from the outset. But when we look at this and put it into perspective within what's actually happened in this case, but within the framework of how we're all meant to be working in licensing, I think you're going to have a very different view on what's taken place here. And unless I'm getting the time frame wrong, and I stand to be corrected, no problem. He's been told in this documentation by the licensing officer, if he didn't act quickly, the license would be reviewed. They're expecting him to act promptly, and he's been criticised for not doing anything. Because all you're hearing here, there are the two failures, the breaches of conditions. You're hearing the same thing again and again. No training, no refusals, no this, no that. Let's put the time frame down. The first test purchase took place on the 19th of May. The police were notified on the 24th of May. The police only became involved and undertook their own test purchase on the 2nd of June. They applied for the review on the 8th of June. Okay, now unless I've got that wrong, that's less than 2 weeks. The police involvement is less than 6 days. Test purchase, review, bang. Okay? I have never in 20 years known a review be applied for so quickly. The licensing legislation is framed around the government guidance. It advocates a stepped approach. It advocates partnership working. These are the central pillars of the licensing legislation. Sammy has received a couple of letters, but that's why I asked the question, because he's never once been asked to meet with the police or whoever wants to speak to him properly by way of a meeting. Let's talk about it. Let's look at what's going on. It's usual in circumstances, and I've been doing this a heck of a long time, and what the stepped approach is about, right, something's happened, something's gone wrong, let's get in a meeting and let's discuss it. Let's get into a meeting where we can give you, a retailer, a plan of how you put that right. And in that meeting, they usually get a rap on the knuckles, a firm warning about how it shouldn't happen again. That's the stepped approach. Okay, it hasn't happened here. You've heard about the CCTV. Again, we can't see it. Again, we can't see it. But usually, not if something's urgent, obviously, but usually there's an appointment made to go down and go through all of these things and check the CCTV with the DPS and the licence holder, not just staff members who don't have access to anything, quite rightly. Instead, Sammy's been given 6 days from police involvement to the date of the review application to put things right, to look at it, to investigate it, to decide what he's going to do with his staff, to make improvements, to make sure it doesn't happen again. That takes time. The police are suggesting that you revoke this licence, not just the police, but the licensing officer, revoke it, throw the book at him, due to his inability to manage the premises. Not only is his inability to manage the premises not true, the suggestion about a revocation being the right course of action is so far off the mark, flies against the central principles of the Licensing Act. I've already mentioned partnership working, but the Licensing Act is a remedial system. It's not to punish, it's not to throw the book, it's to look, we've got a problem here, what are we going to do about it? Let's put this right. That's what licensing is about, you'll know. It's certainly not about catching people out and then throwing the book at them. And what the police and the authorities are asking you to do is move to worst case scenario immediately. Now think about the consequences of that. You have to take into account the financial impact of your decision. That is stated case law in hope and glory. You're dealing with livelihoods, you're dealing with people's jobs, you're dealing with a gentleman who has definitely needs to pull his socks up, and we'll tell you how he's done that in a minute. You've got to take into account the financial impact of your decision. It isn't just as easy as revoke this licence. When they say to revoke the licence, what they're saying is they're saying that Sammy is not to be trusted. He's not capable of upholding the licensing objectives. That's patently not true. You're not dealing with a retailer who's not trained his staff. He has. And in the paperwork that I've put in, this training that I put in here, it wasn't put in for any other reason, because it's not great. It's not the best. Sammy knows that. But it's to show that he didn't just do nothing. He is someone who cares, and he did try to train his staff. We have training on the 18th of February 2022. That's the last time the police saw the training. That's correct. He should have done it since. But it isn't true that he's just not trained his staff. That's a misleading thing to say. You can see that after this has happened and when he's got to grips with it, he's retrained them all on the 12th of June. There's an authority to sell alcohol form that has been signed. You're not dealing with a person who you can't trust and who just doesn't care and who isn't capable of upholding the licensing objectives. You've heard that on the 12th of October, in addition to that, 2021, a visit was made to check the licensing conditions and everything was absolutely fine, including staff training. So again, it's evidence coming from the authorities that everything was as it should be. We absolutely, and Sammy will tell you this, he's fallen behind in his record keeping, absolutely, since March 2022. We've put that right, I will say. The training wasn't perfect for sure. As soon as I saw it, I said, this isn't good enough, Sammy. We're going to have to sort it out. But he had trained them. Just 1 second. To move on to what we've done. So that is our position on everything that you've heard, the time frame that is actually being given to sort all of this out, and the lack of contact with him as the owner. I think I've made my points clear there. I just want to go on to something more positive now and tell you what we've been doing since Sammy approached me at Napthans. He hasn't wasted any time, I have to say, in putting everything in place that I've suggested. He's taken on every single suggestion. Again, takes time. So I've been very comprehensive. I've looked at absolutely everything, and where the mistakes were, we've put them right. So the first thing is the seller that has let him down badly and has lied. And like the police have said, he lied, has gone. He was sacked. Okay, he's gone. The people that are now in charge, who were employed there part-time anyway, are a married couple. They're called Daminda and Sharoma. Now, we've put them on training courses. Daminda is the key person because he is the person that we will propose to you should become the DPS. And we've put in his certificate there. I can't find it, but you will see that he's trained to the level 2 personal license course, the highest level in licensing you can get. He can't go any higher than that, and he will get a personal license. And we will suggest to you that he becomes the DPS. Sharoma is his wife, and she has taken the internal training. Now, again, we're just showing you we didn't mean for you to read all this. It's the quality of what you're looking at here. The internal training now takes away any, unfortunately, retailers do get in hot water because of not signing things properly and not doing it on time. And the way of sorting that out is to go online. And that is what he's done. So he has now no responsibility for training at all because the online system goes direct to the individuals. So Sharoma has done it all. You can see that she's passed it all there. She passed it all. She will have, in 6 months, an alert will go to her phone and her email saying, Sharoma, come on, you're due your refresher. And she has to take that refresher. Now, if she doesn't, Sammy will know about it, but so will we. So it comes from Licensing Matters, partner company, and they will make sure that she does it. If she doesn't, we'll report it to Sammy, but he will see it himself because it's actually a learning management system. It gives all sorts of statistics about who's doing what, where and when. The point is that the internal training, so that you're secure for anything that happens in the future with any new staff, is transformed. It's completely been changed. Now, we've also, as an addendum, put the it took ages to sort the CCTV out. Luckily, we managed to get it done yesterday. He's bought a new CCTV system completely. You should have it there. You've got the invoice. You can see the cameras. That has all been sorted out as well. So we come to what action you should take today. You've heard my submissions to you about the stepped approach and basically taking the least action you need to take to correct this situation, to get him back on track. I'm advocating that approach today by proposing conditions. I think that, what you do when you're looking at how to deal with this, you look at the direct problem. What's happened? What can we do to sort it? Well, the first thing is we can put a condition on that says they can't sell knives. The knife was in a little, it wasn't a big kitchen knife. It was in a little pack like that. It's a trimming knife. When I went there, I said, get them off sale. You shouldn't sell them. Let's say that you won't sell those anymore. So they will not sell any knives at this premises at all. And we're quite happy for that to be mandated by the licence. We would offer to change the DPS. Sammy is a busy man and has a lot of things that he has to do in the background, as well as dealing with his other shop at Moss Lane. We could take Sammy, you could take Sammy off and make Daminda the DPS. He is there full time and can put all of his attention on the premises and how it's run. You've got here, I've given these conditions and I will hand them to you. I've given these conditions already to the authorities because I've had a look at the licence, and actually there's a lot that can be done with this licence. It's not very good in terms of the CCTV conditions are okay. It's not data protection compliant, but there are certainly an upgrade needed in the age verification policy. On here it's 21. We want to upgrade that to challenge 25. And the particular thing, which is really what you should be concerned with today, staff training. And I've got a very comprehensive staff training condition here for you to look at. So here, in terms of the proposed conditions, we've got staff training, incident register, challenge 25, posters. You'll see that the posters have all gone up now anyway, and the types of ID that are accepted. That's what I'm proposing today. I feel, given the lack of interaction with the authorities, the stepped approach is happening in here. You've got to bear in mind that Sammy has never been in trouble. He's never had a review. He's never done anything wrong before these particular incidents at School Lane. In my view to you, the only action that is proportionate today would be the imposition of conditions, warning, let him go off and prove himself to you, which he very much will do. He knows that he's under the spotlight. He knows, and he knows the authorities will be back. So he has every reason to put this right. And I'd ask you to give him the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
It's your turn to ask questions now.
Yeah. Yes, a couple of questions. Ms. Sherratt, thank you for the training for licensing matters. It is a comprehensive one. It's good to see that is put into place. One of the proposed conditions that you've put in is around rewording of the training. Is there any reason why that's been softened to annual rather than the current 6 monthly that has already been breached?
Yeah, it's a good question. No reason other than we found generally age-restricted sales isn't rocket science, and they don't really need to be trained any more than annual. I'm not bothered about that if you want to put it to 6 months. The system does whatever we ask it to do. It could even be 3 months, but I think 3 months is kind of too often. But I'm quite happy that if you want to put it at 6 months, it's fine.
In terms of that package, is what sort of length of contract have you got with Sammy? What's to stop him from terminating that contract at 8 p.m. tonight?
Nothing. Well, no, he pays for the year. He pays for the year and he pays for annual refreshers, and then he needs to pay again.
So in a year's time, he could think, actually, I'm not paying for licensing matters, and fall once again into non-compliance with his license, as he's already shown.
Yeah, just like if you changed your car insurance. Yeah.
Last one from me, just regarding the CCTV. Obviously, you've mentioned that you felt it was a bit uncalled for being asked for CCTV there and then. It is already a premises license condition that someone should be able to operate that footage. So it's not real uncalled for. It is the...
I completely accept that. And one of the problems with very small businesses like this is compliance with a condition like that. You know, if you go to Tesco, you always have a manager, assistant manager, 3 assistant managers. In a small business like this, that condition is catch-22. He's damned if you do, he's damned if you don't. He doesn't, and that's your problem practically. I do accept that completely, but I just wanted to point out the difficulties. Like I said, I wouldn't want to give all of the staff, even people who are part-time, access to my CCTV. It's just the way it is.
Would you accept that there are, if you had comply with that condition, there are certain measures you can put in place to the system. So whilst staff could access it to review it, they could not delete it, they could not download it, stuff like that. So if the system was sufficient enough, he could still comply with that condition whilst restricting access.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about CCTV, but I accept that that absolutely could happen. And I accept that I've said, I've given you my misgivings about CCTV on small businesses, but if he's got a condition like that, we've got to work with it somehow. And if we have to go back to the CCTV engineer and say, look, this is what we want, these are the permissions we want, then that is what we'll have to do, yeah.
And then, Chair, if I may, just a couple of questions for Sammy himself. So looking at your training records, is there a reason why they were no longer documented after March 2022?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
So your training records, they were documented up until March 2022 during my inspection, submitted as part of the representation, it's February 2022. Is there a reason why you chose not to document your training after that point?
Oh, not really.
Yeah, Steve, just so what's that? Who's asking is, so the last training record is that 28th of the 2nd.
Yeah.
Why did you not train your staff after that?
Because I just missed a busy with it. That's what happened. But I did before every 6 months. But that time I missed it. But anyway, I did it after that anyway.
Would you accept that if that training was documented, that staff may not have sold underage sales items to kids?
I didn't get you.
So if that training went ahead and it was documented accordingly, would you accept that staff are likely not to sell age-related products to children?
Yeah.
Chair, that's my questions done. Thank you.
Is that training standards? Yeah.
Just one question from me. Obviously, you've pointed out that the staff member who appeared to have let you down has been sacked. Can we understand that he will not be re-employed by the business at all anywhere in the future? There's no connections. He doesn't live above the shop or anything like that. There's no way that if we go back into the shop, he's going to be finding behind the counter again. Not in my shop. No, I can't trust him. Right. Thank you.
Chris, have you got any questions?
Yeah, just one. Well, a couple. Just to go on to what PC Connolly just said. How often were you attending the premises?
I just go in at least twice a day.
Okay,
just
so
in the morning. I'm working in the morning as well, quite every day. So working in the Moss Lane, working in the evenings, Bamba Beach. I just work every day.
Okay.
And at least going twice a day because I'm going through the bank and I'm going. People know around.
And as you attend twice a day, would you say you've got control of that premises?
I didn't get you.
Do you think you had control of that premises at that point?
Yeah, I can do.
Yeah. Did you check the refusal logs at all? Did you check the refusal logs that your staff were actually IDing people?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
You did, because they obviously hadn't been updated for well over 12 months, had they, at the point of the test purchases?
Yeah.
Do you want me just to re-question that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so at the point of the two failed test purchases, the staff, the refusal logs, hadn't been updated for 12 months. And then we had 2 failed test purchases. So were you aware that those refusal logs had not been updated during that period?
I didn't get that. Say it again, please.
So the refusal log that your staff need to fill in when they ID somebody, that hadn't been filled in, I think it was April 2022. And then following this, your staff have obviously failed 2 test purchases. If you said you're attending the premises twice a day and you've got day-to-day control of the premises, why haven't you checked the refusal logs, is my question.
I just check quite often, but should be they don't have anything right.
But if you're checking them quite often, why have they not been filled in for over 12 months? Because you've got control of that premises at DPS, haven't you?
Yeah.
And your staff have sold while you've got control of that premises.
Yeah, but just probably I just check
obviously
it anyway.
My question then is what due diligence measures did you take during that period that you were DPS that your staff weren't selling to underage people for that 12-month period before they failed the test purchases?
Yeah, I can come back on this. I take your point completely about the refusals, and actually I've just looked at the condition and we could add that the amount of time, the time span within which you expect the DPS to check the refusals register, that can be added onto there, because he's answered. I'm not going to try and comment on that. In terms of general due diligence, we've got the training and the Challenge 25 scheme. I don't know what else you know about the refusals register. I mean, there's not really anything else. The other thing I didn't say was that they've had a till prompt put in as well. Sorry, I forgot that. A till prompt has been put in place now. It wasn't there before. And I've spoken to the till people. So in terms of due diligence, he's done that as well.
Just one last question. When you took over the premises and you put the application in to transfer the licence, did you have a licensing consultant in place at that point who put the licence application in for you?
Sorry, what's the relevance?
My relevance is that obviously he's got a licensed consultant in place now. What's to say it won't fall again and as it has?
Well, I made the
previously?
same point. That can happen with anything, anywhere, with anyone. If he decides not to use somebody, that's his decision in the future.
My relevance is that he's had a licensing consultant in the past and it's fallen, hasn't it? And then my point is it could happen again, and what measures would be put in place? And I think that it just ties in with that question.
Yeah, I mean, all we can do here in this forum, me, you, everyone, is to ensure that the licensing objectives are upheld, and we all walk away. And it's then up to Sammy to make sure that continues. We can't control it any further than that.
You mentioned the till prompt has now been installed on the till. Do staff have their own individual logins? Can that be interrogated?
No.
No, we've got some work to do with that. Like I say, I've spoken to the till system people, and it's an EPOS system, so it's a full system. I'm sure that we'll be able to do other things with it, but for now it is a simple till prompt that comes up and challenges them. Have you checked for identification? The answer is I can't answer that really.
In terms of an EPOS till, would you say it's beneficial for a licence holder or DPS to be able to interrogate that, to be able to see what staff are challenging people of their age, what people are not?
Yeah, definitely. And but you can't enforce that here because we don't know what this system does. But as you know, EPOS systems usually act as like a dual refusals with the paper system. I can't tell you any more about what this till system does. All I can say is that I've seen the prompt and it comes up and it says it's alcohol, Smirnoff, whatever, and it asks the person they've got to challenge for ID. That's all I can tell you. But, we can talk about this outside this arena later if you want to, because I don't know anything more about it.
Just one more from me. Just to clarify, obviously on the visit on the 19th of May, your past details or your staff members' past details, the training standing officer who attended, a phone number and an email address. On the 5th of June, you were sent a letter, a written warning regarding a knife sale, which again had a phone number and email address of training standards. And also on the 19th of 6th, again, the staff member was left paperwork which had a name, phone number, and email address of something for training standards who you could contact. Did you make any attempt to contact any of those people prior to today?
No, he hasn't done, and I can understand what you're getting at, but it's for the authorities to get in touch with a licence holder. If they've got a problem with the way somebody's conducting themselves, then the authorities need to get hold of the licence holder to discuss that. He read as he told me just before we came in here, the letter about the knife. He'd read it and gone through everything. So he'd taken it into account, which is what he's expected to do when he receives a letter. He didn't need to do any more than that at that point.
Hi, I've just got a few questions. Apologies, I've got a cold. How long has Sammy been managing licensed premises? Not this one, in general, in total.
4.5 years so far, since 2019.
So nearly 5 years, 4.5 years.
Nearly 5 years, yeah.
And how often, I understood you said you worked in this shop, was it most mornings?
No, just working in the morning, mostly because I'm living above the shop. easier to me working in the morning there and working in most evenings in Berber Beach.
Based on your experience, obviously I can't get a figure off you, but based on your experience of working in licensed premises and also managing those for nearly 5 years, how often would you say it necessitates you to refuse a sale?
I just found few times, yeah, just quite weekly one at least. Few times, yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the refusals register for the whole of the year. There seems to be 13 refusals in the year. Would you say that's an unduly small amount, or would you say that's a normal amount for what you normally get from refusals in your premises, then based on 1 or 2 times a week, as you just mentioned?
But it's not every week, but just I say some week no, just random, yeah.
And I've got one more question. On the documentation you submitted, the training documentation, agenda item 3, page number 7 and 8 and 5 and 6, they've got the same staff member's name on the top. I'm just checking that they are both the same staff member who's done that training. So it's page 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. They've both got the same staff member's name on top at different dates. Okay, but it's the same staff member who's completed both of those training. Thank you.
Sorry, do you wish to amend your application in any way in light of what you've heard today?
I do not, Chair. I do not wish to amend the application. We are looking at quite serious stuff, children being sold knives and alcohol. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I've an awful lot to say. I've said what I want to say very thoroughly. I probably just in light of what I've just heard, just reiterate the approach that needs to be taken in licensing, and that is not throwing the book and revoking a license at first asking. It's a bit like having a driving license and being given 3 points and 3 points and 3 points when you're speeding and potentially can kill someone. People are given chances to better themselves and to make improvements, and that's what licensing is all about. It's remedial, and so revocation in my submission is not even near appropriate and proportionate today. You do have the power to suspend the license, but you must have a reason for doing so. If we and I have done this before, I've come to a hearing with no actions being taken to improve things, and maybe then we'd need some time to sort that out. But we haven't done today. We've got everything boxed off, the CCTV, the training, it's all done. And so I don't think even a suspension would be proportionate today. And I just want to ask you to give Sammy the chance to put this right and apply the conditions that have been proposed. Thank you.
Just, I know he's really sorry for Ray because he's done wrong, but just last 5 years hasn't done anything in the Moss Lane. 1.5 year and the Berber Beach, nothing happened. So I know it's wrong, but just I done everything last few days. Do the new CCTV suddenly and till prompt, and I done the training program with her and done everything for her. So just that's it.
Thank you. It's now your turn to sum up.
Chair, I will keep it brief. You've heard from the responsible authorities today. Effectively, it has taken a review application for the premises to become compliant after the sale of a knife and alcohol to children. That is completely unacceptable from any licensed premises at all. You look towards the Section 182 guidance, and I will read an extract from 1123. And the last line of that is, but where premises are found to be trading irresponsibly, the licensing authority should not ever hesitate, where appropriate to do so, to take tough action to tackle the problems at the premises and where other measures deemed insufficient to revoke the licence. Effectively, Sammy has traded irresponsibly. He has ignored his licence conditions after becoming compliant and being assisted by a licensing consultant. He has ignored it. It's taken a review after these failed transactions. Your options today are to do nothing. I hope, given the evidence, that's not on the cards. You could remove Sammy as the DPS. That is an option that Ms. Sherritt has put forward with a new member of staff. However, he still has overall responsibility of the premises as the licence holder. You could suspend the licence for up to a period of 3 months. Given the form of non-compliance, it is highly likely that in 3 months' time, or certainly when the licensing matters training expires in a year's time, that he will fall back into non-compliance. Revocation is the only way to truly uphold the licensing objective today. It is not only necessary, it is proportionate. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris and trading standards. Chris?
Just to reiterate that laws are put in place for age-related products so that minors do not cause harm to themselves and the community they live in. Again, I just want to reiterate that this premises has not been recording any refusals in the last 12 months. The licence holder has not been checking the refusal register. He said he's been in premises twice a day. A member of staff has sold a knife to a 13-year-old child and a teenager a week later for alcohol. Conditions are attached to the licence. The 4 licensing objectives are not undermined. What is expected of a good DPS or a licence holder? We would expect you to train your staff, keep a refusal log on the premises and make sure it is updated, and adopt an age verification process and make sure that staff are trained. These are all due diligence measures which are put in place to mitigate blame against the licence holder. For me, the blame still remains with the licence holder that those children were sold age-related products. Appreciate the steps that have been taken from the guidance consultant that we've heard. But like PC Connolly has said, there isn't still a confidence there that in 12 months' time it may still revert back to the position that we were in before. Thank you.
I do take issue with what was said over there again, but with no evidence that there's been wrongdoing that they're alluding to that I know nothing about apart from what happened from the 19th of May. So I would just ask you again to disregard those comments. I don't have anything else to say, Chair. I do have the conditions that we've proposed. The police and the authorities have had these, but I've just put on the bottom, removal of DPS, no sales of knives. I forgot to put these on. And then, based on what's been said in here, the amendment to the refusals register, you could say it will be checked by the DPS on a monthly basis or whatever. These checks will be documented. They're just proposals, if I can hand those in, if that's okay. You're all right with that, yeah.
Questions?
Sorry, through you, Chair. Just a couple of points that I've got to make around the conditions that have been proposed. I think specifically the one around the knife, the sale of knives, and to remove that, to obviously have a condition that they can't sell knives. Selling knives is obviously not a licensable activity. And so it will be difficult for the licensing authority to enforce that. So that's just a point for you panel members to take into account. One of the other things that's been mentioned was around the removal of the DPS and to have, is it Deminder put in place instead. Obviously that would be subject to criminal history checks, and the police would have 14 days to object around that. I'm correct in saying that. So that's just something to consider as well.
Bits out. Right, the conclusion now then. Are there any other issues or matters to be raised before we resolve this issue? Nothing? Good. deliberations. Now, generally, the public and the applicant will be excluded when the panel is determining the hearing decision. So I'm sorry, you've all got to go, except us. And the decision will be issued to the applicant and interested parties within 5 days after the hearing meeting. So you'll know in 5 days. Okay. But thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.